Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Renaissance Hacker. My name is Sean, and today I'm joined by Lydia from the next bedroom over, and we're going to be talking about hacking a mythos for a fantasy world. But first, we should do some introductions. Lydia, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm just a regular person, a regular daughter, recently enrolled in running Start, and I am, I'd say, enthralled by Minecraft role playing and the community around it, and all of the fantasy worlds you create, just to show off characters.
Cool. And for those who aren't familiar with the state of Washington and the Running Start program, what is that?
Well, it's, believe only 2 years before you hit the age of 18, you're able to go to Running Start to get college level, a college education somewhat to give you a running start on your college degree. And usually for public schoolers, they take it alongside high school and need and use it with their high school credits to work further towards a high school diploma and also a college degree.
Okay. So technically, you're enrolled in a college. What college are you enrolled in?
Shoreline Community College.
Ah, and what are you studying at Shoreline Community College?
2D and 3D animation.
2D and 3D animation. And how does that kind of fit in with your gamer and fantasy author uh, aspirations?
Well, it can help me in my goal to become a YouTuber and Twitch streamer, in that I can make little edited videos with animated characters and moving subtitles to just add a little bit of impact to the comedy of the videos. And then also just to be able to draw my own characters, my own creations in the way I view them instead of paying someone else to do it, because people can't read minds. They can't copy exactly what you're thinking,
Ah,
though they can get close.
so you want to use animation as a way to tell your stories.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, hey, tell us about this world that you have created as the backdrop for all of your stories.
Well, the world is Tiernia, which is a name based off the Irish folklore Tir na Nog, the land of youth, seeing as most people in Tiernia have a much larger lifespan than people of our realm, in quotations. And it's generally just a place for me to create characters that I can use in role plays with my friends online. And first, it wasn't really all that big because I didn't really have a reason to expand it other than I need characters. But it started forming this lore, and I needed religion based on those characters to make a wider personality to them.
Okay. And so what was the kind of genesis? You said that you originally created Tyrannia to foster all of these characters for your role play. Um, and you said Tyrannia came from uh, Irish folklore. Did you grab any other concepts from other other places?
I definitely looked into most mythologies, typical mythological creatures like sirens from Greek mythology, the Leviathan from uh, Christian mythology, and oh, what are they called? Basilisks from don't actually know the original mythology for basilisks. Just the usual cliche dragons and chimeras and griffins, except giving them a twist in a way to help meld them into this world and connect them with the other beings of this world.
Okay. In this world, who created this world? Is this one of the gods created the world, or did the world come into existence through?
The All Father created it. The All Father being this uh, hierarchy, not hierarchy, but high immortal being that just takes the imagination of children and makes them into these worlds in which they can just exist and thrive and change, but he never really meant for them to be revealed. It was just a place to create the child's imagination in a world. So in this case, it would be my imagination coming to life in a world, except when he put these gods to govern over it, and they had their storylines there. Eventually, one of the gods, the god of chaos, destroyed the realm barrier and freed Tyrnia to connect with the other realms, and basically opened it up so that Tyrnia could not only gain information from realms that have far surpassed it in technology and evolution, but also gain language because they had not had one before that.
You had a world with no language. How did people communicate?
Through soul and emotion, because magic in Tyrnia is fueled by soul and emotion. That's why women are generally more powerful, because women are generally more emotional.
Interesting. Okay. So, how long have you been working on this world?
It's been so recently I've been revamping it and trying to create a more solid story for it, but generally I want to keep in my childhood characters like Catherine the cat lady that I had an army of when I was 9. But making them, revamping them so that they're actually plausible characters, giving them unique personalities and religions and weapons and powers.
So, this is a world that's kind of grown as you've grown.
Yeah. And I would say there is a arc to it in which the first world, where all of my original characters were, died off due to an overwhelming corruption, some staying behind to be reborn, and then the corruption being imprisoned at the center, to have a canonical reason as to why these characters that I made so long ago vanished.
Interesting. Well, okay. So, tell us a little bit about the gods in this world. What kinds of gods do you have going on? You've got gods and demi-gods and demons and heroes, and are heroes gods? Or tell us a little bit about the kind of hierarchy and organization. You said that there's the All Father, and I take it he's somewhere near the top.
He is the top.
Okay.
I'd place any gods below him as demigods, though there are gods below that are more so demigods. They're part immortal and have a part of the power of a god, but they are not fully gods, of course, because that's what a demigod is. But these gods, known as false gods or false idols, or gods in quotations, are generally just the focus of many religions or cults, people believing in them and worshiping them to earn their favor in certain aspects. And they have their own unique purpose to help rule over the realm. You have the lawmaker, who, by his name, is there to keep the law of not good morals and all that, though he is worshipped for being a god of good morals, but more so the law of physics and reality, so that people don't bend and break it to their will like the corruption had done so long ago to destroy the planet. Because there is a certain extent that the gods want people to be able to have their power. And then there is Yorsef, god of chaos. He is random and sporadic and loves just being an absolute mess. He was the one to break the realm barrier and chase off the guardian that was protecting it, and kept bringing in people from other realms, not to benefit the realm or give people understandings of other realms, though they eventually figured that out just with simple conversation to the other realmers. But they were his pawns. They were these people in the game that he had made to be toyed with, to be played with, to have trials thrown at them, to be killed, to persevere. And he just generally has no real I wouldn't say purpose, but has no real motive. He doesn't have a motive to what he does. It's doing it because he feels like it then and there, and maybe he'll get bored eventually, and maybe he'll move on. He just does it because he can. It's like his physical form. It changes because he wants it to.
Okay, and he's one of the gods, right? Or false gods or
The false
demigods.
gods.
He's a
He's one of the
false god.
false gods. But he's one of the more important ones because he actually interacts with the people of Tyrannia a lot more and brings a lot of notice to himself.
Okay. Now, you called him a god, and he sounds kind of awful. You also mentioned that there's demons. What's the difference between a god and a demon?
A demon is not a powerful being at all. A demon is just this being that has escaped their hellish afterlife to haunt the living once more, to be alive when they shouldn't. So they have different types of demons. Some demons are more powerful and can manifest a physical form and completely leave their hells to walk the ground once more. And then there are nomadic demons who thrive in Tyrannia, but only with the aid of Tyranians. They need to have that hold, that link to the surface world, in order for them to haunt it. And it doesn't even need to be, for certain demons, their link isn't a human. Their link is more so the place they died, the weapon that killed them. And they haunt this weapon until someone picks it up or just goes inside the house. And that's when they have someone that they can take and they can possess and use to their will.
Okay.
But they are killable. They aren't immortal. They're pests in a way.
Interesting. And you mentioned heroes are not actually Tyrnians.
Heroes are more commonly people brought in by Yorsef from other realms to be thrown into political wars or terrible disasters and things like that. They're brought there to do what they want in the circumstance, whether that be good or evil. Generally, if they do good, they're remembered and appreciated from then on as heroes. Though this is very difficult, seeing as Yorsef threw around a rumor that consuming the flesh of other realmers makes you immortal. So it is very rare for another realmer to actually survive in Tyrnia and become a hero.
Okay, fascinating. So how many gods does your world have? Or how many gods does a world need?
That generally depends on how many purposes you can come up with for gods. I'd say you don't need a god for every element, a god for every disaster, or a god for every emotion. But I would put in gods that are worshipped for what they are and what their purpose is, and not what they are connected to, or more so what they represent. I'm not making any sense with that. I don't I don't feel like there should be gods for elements, because the elements themselves can be controlled and manipulated through magic by
Okay, so
simple
by
Tyrians.
elements you're talking about the earth, wind, and fire, not necessarily the god of magnesium.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm talking about simple elements of, like, the typical fire, water, earth, wind, things like that.
Okay, so I can edit my slides here. So we can get rid of the god of fire and the god of water. So what about the god of love and war?
I do believe at one point I did have a god of war, though I didn't really find a need to keep her around, seeing as the wars can either have a lawful meaning, meaning that they could have the lawmaker be present or be there as their idol, as their guide, their edge to war. Or they could have Yorsef, in which they're just chaotic and all that. A god of love, I actually do believe I have one.
Okay.
It is just...
So you mentioned we have the lawmaker and we have Yorsef.
It's it's Yorsef.
Yorsef, and he's the god of chaos.
Yeah.
Okay.
The god of love, lust, beauty, and all that has no name. She's just a silhouette.
Oh, interesting.
And the reason why she's a silhouette is because I heard this told in like an ad recently that the woman's silhouette is the most beautiful thing on the planet. And while it's not entirely true, I do understand the motive behind it. So she is just represented as a silhouette, as this beautiful woman, but she appears as a shadow on the wall to whoever summons her for dating advice or whatever.
So you don't pray to gods, you summon them.
Well, you pray to them. You can theoretically summon them. In some situations, Yorsef will respond to a prayer if it is very, like, show me a sign or show yourself to me if you are real. Though most people know that Yorsef is real. The lawmaker can rarely be summoned because he is keeping the peace of reality in Tyrnia, making it so that people aren't stepping out of their limits and using forbidden magic. The god of love, she just appears to those who summon her because those who normally summon her, and this is just the terrible side of Tyrnia in some eyes, they summon her for favors. They ask her, make this woman fall in love with me, make this man lust after me, make me irresistible to people. And she can grant those wishes if she wants. Of course, there may be a price, though.
What is this going rate for lust with the god of love? What are these kind of prices you're talking about? My firstborn child?
No, it's more so if you wish to have. It's like in real life. If you have wealth and you don't give it up, you lose it when you die. And it goes nowhere. So if you wish for love while you're alive, you can die lonely. Or you can be cursed by it. Because a young woman, Eleanor, wished to be irresistible, and now she can't go a day without being harassed or people trying to kill her so that she doesn't run, and terrible people just wanting terrible things from her because she's irresistible now. No one is able to bat an eye at her form. They immediately just want her.
Okay. So besides the god of love, the lawmaker, Yorsef, are there any other interesting gods?
The entity.
The entity.
The entity is the person, not person, it is the being that overrules afterlife. And they generally judge you. They are the judge when you die to whether you deserve a hell, a heaven, whether you deserve to just be thrown in with the minor souls that they weren't terrible, but they weren't good. They were just generic. They weren't devoted to life. Or whether you go to another world, the land of eternal death, which I'll get to later. But they have no gender. If you speak to them, they appear to you as a voice in an endless void that just sounds like your loved one. So if someone were to die and they were frightened, he could come and console them as their wife or their daughter.
Okay. Interesting.
Or taunt them as their worst enemy if they were terrible. There is one more god that is significant to Tyrnia, and that is the god of eternal death.
The god of eternal death.
In the land of eternal death.
Wow. Okay.
And they are depicted as this horribly unified? Don't know the word I'm trying to go for, but horribly mauled and deformed humanoid being with terribly scarred skin and mouths open in places that they shouldn't be, such as sides or back of your head, just places that you normally wouldn't find mouths, and eyes dotting all over their body. Long hair draping across the floor, terribly matted and drenched in fluids that are unknown, seeing as no one is going to take the time to find out. They are the one who overrules the land of eternal death, the land where you go if you commit suicide. Because in Tyrnia, suicide is the most horribly disrespectful thing you could ever do to the gods. It's worse than just going up to them and saying, I despise you. Because it's proving to them that their world, this world that they are making to be interesting and intricate and in some cases beautiful for you, you're just aren't appreciative of it and you don't want to be here. So you end your life and they say, fine, if you want to die, die for eternity.
Fascinating. Are there any kind of silly gods? Like I put the god of hot air.
No, I would not say there are any silly gods, though debatable Yorsef could be one.
Okay. Well, cool. So, tell us a little bit about worship. What's involved in worshiping gods? Is there? You said you could summon them and pray to them. Are there ceremonies, rituals, festivals, rites, pilgrimages, with kinds of things?
I forgot about one important god, mainly because he's dead now to Tyrnia. But yes, there are a lot of rituals, festivals, and holidays based around this god, Dulamon, which is the Gaelic word for seaweed.
For who?
Seaweed.
Seaweed.
Because when he rose from the ocean on his first day, a child ran up to him and screamed, Dulamon!
Oh.
Because he looked like he was drenched in seaweed.
Ah, okay.
He's the god of peace and prosperity.
Different
And
from the
balance.
lawmaker.
Yes.
Okay.
And he is celebrated for all the gifts he brought to the realm and all of the things he's done to protect the people there. But ever since he died, he just became more important to them. And he became this being of excellent worship, though some despise him, those who appreciate Yorsef. despise him because Yorsef does not like peace.
Okay.
But there are festivals in which people sing songs about him and the things he did. There are holidays like the Day of Dulamon's Giving, similar to Christmas, though also Thanksgiving. They generally don't have a way to celebrate it. They give each other gifts, they have parties, or they have feasts, and they sing and they dance, and they just rejoice over Dulamon's giving. Some people take
And what
it
are they
as
celebrating in Dulamon's giving? That Dulamon gave.
that Dulamon gave them rich oceans with plenty of life for those who can't grow crops well, that they gave him rich soil for crops to grow in farmlands in which they cannot thrive without them, that he made these cattle so that they don't have to die of hunger if they can't come across fish or crop.
Well,
He
okay.
stopped disasters from destroying entire villages, uh, killed monsters that had risen from their depths to slaughter.
Okay.
There are other rituals. Some could say that necromancy is a ritual. Necromancy is basically a form of summoning the entity because you are requesting that this person, not necessarily not necessarily an important person. It could be a loved one, it could be a random person you want to serve you. You are requesting that he give you permission to bring this person back to life. And it is only through that request that you can bring a person back to life fully, with their soul still intact and all their memories.
Okay.
Without his blessing, they'll just be a mindless corpse.
Like
They'll,
a zombie.
yeah, they'll continue to rot. They'll continue to decompose and get nowhere. They won't be of use.
Okay. Are there any ceremonies involved in worship? Like our wedding ceremony is a part of a Christian tradition.
There are wedding ceremonies, seeing as most of Tyrrhenia is just copying off of other realms, seeing as they did not have a real way to celebrate like two people bonding in marriage or the death of a loved one. And marriage is a way that they can worship the silhouette, the god of love. They can give thanks to her and wish that she bind them forever in matrimony. And if their wish is granted, they will live happily as a married couple until they both pass. It is through her favor that they can marry again.
Okay.
Or if she does not bless them, they will drift apart after some time.
Is there any kind of pivotal age, like a coming of age ritual that happens in Tyrrhenia?
Not generally, except for certain races, such as the Kender or the Rudniks, which are two separate races in and of themselves. But Their rituals are generally out of sight from the gods, seeing as they don't generally worship the gods. They are atheist creatures in a way.
Okay.
They're not human, they're not orcs, they're not elves, they're just their own race. Why should they worship the same gods as us? Their general mindset. They do believe in the All-Father, though they do not openly admit it. They have to believe in someone, whether minorly or not.
Okay. So, you've alluded to hell and there being multiple hells and heaven. Are there multiple heavens?
There are personalized heavens, and there are Viking halls in a sort, like Valhalla, though it's not Valhalla. It's just this longhouse that is where some coastal tribes go when they die, because they want to rejoice with their brothers in arms in the afterlife that they have made it so far and died honorably. There can be single afterlives in which you just spend it in the most perfect way possible, just by your lonesome until eternity, or someone wakes you. And there are afterlives in which you're spending the rest of eternity with your partner, your spouse. But there's also afterlives in which, if you have no particular uh, need, or you weren't particularly righteous, or you didn't partake in amazing deeds to help the world, you may just go to a heaven in which you spend eternity with the other souls who did not generally do much, but they were decent people. There are purgatories in between in which people who aren't generally good and aren't generally bad go. The more neutral people who didn't lead a good life but a average one. And those are scarce because people usually pick good or evil. And the hells are vast because you are turned into a demon to forever roam a fiery pit that is frigid. Have you ever been so cold that your skin burns?
Okay.
It is basically that feeling everywhere, and it's uncomfortable, it's terrible. Most people hate it there. They're rotten souls.
Fascinating. Can you get, once you're in a heaven or a hell, is there a way to get out, to get promoted into a better heaven or a less worse hell?
There are generally
Or can I lose my heaven status and go to a hell?
possibly you could, but you'd have to do something drastic. Like, if a necromancer summons you to speak to you and your wisdom gets thousands of people dead and you intended on getting thousands of people dead. You will be sent to a hell that is terrible indeed.
Fascinating. So if I'm in a heaven, I can't be left alone because a necromancer could summon me.
If you were in a heaven, there is a possible chance that someone would summon you because most heroes get personal heavens because of the things they did and are generally called upon by others who want to do deeds or want to know their secrets.
Okay. So, is there any kind of infrastructure involved with these gods? Are there temples and churches and synagogues? And do you have professional worshippers or a priestly class?
There are people who devote their life to meditating to the lawmaker, and they generally um, have peaceful lives in their own temples, far away from anyone else. There are people who use the lawmakers, use the lawmaker for their own selfish reasons, having churches set up to help control their populace. Certain empires use religion to control their people. But there are uh, temples in which you could pray to the god of love, though they can vary depending on what you want to pray. There are temples in which you can speak to Yorsif, though the temple is under his control and can be forever changing and forever moving locations, even. And no one would devote their life to Yorsef unless they were insane.
Okay.
And there are many places in which people worship the All-Father because he is um, almighty.
Okay. Do I ever need a mediator? Or can I just worship the All Father directly?
You could use a mediator, you could just speak to him directly. It depends on how strong your faith is and how strong you believe your faith is. You could simply uh, stand silent for a moment and have that be a prayer, or you could get down on your hands and knees in desperate times and scream aloud your prayer. But generally, there aren't mediators for needing to speak to him unless people want to control uh, what you can and cannot say.
Okay. You mentioned dragons, and in our discussion earlier today, you were talking about feral forms. And so I thought this might be interesting. What is a feral form? Just so that everybody's on the same page here.
A feral form is this beastly form of a Tyrian person, and it's generally based on their race. Like giants, a giant's feral form could just be them, but they lose all their hair and they shred apart their clothes and go around destroying villages and bashing people into the earth.
So the Hulk is basically Bill Bixby's feral form.
Basically.
Ah, okay.
And there are other beastly forms for sirens, which are an interesting topic in and of themselves, and kenders, and other people like that. But your feral form can be based on race, but can also be based on your likeness. Because theoretically, a human could transform into this beastly creature if they had gone feral. It just depends on that human's innermost desires, innermost beast.
Okay.
Advantages of the feral form are generally, well, your physique and strength are amplified and increased significantly. Your magic decreases and you're not able to access it as much, but you're faster, you're stronger, you can easily crush someone or tear them apart. Your uh, fingernails can lengthen, your eyesight can become better, and you can have a more tuned sense of hearing, even, and be able to see in the dark in some cases.
Hmm. And so dragons, you were telling me that dragons are the feral form of, or the dragon's feral form is the what we traditionally think of as the dragon
Yeah,
with scales and breathing fire and
their feral form is generally a more beastly version of their bipedal form.
okay.
They have, in a normal dragon's case, they would be a more humanoid beast covered in scales, most likely having reptilian like features and a differently shaped skull. But dragons barely ever use this form anymore due to the hunt, in which many dragons were slaughtered in valleys, forests, and the low parts of mountains
Uh,
just to be harvested for their skin, or even traded as beasts to be fought in a gladiatorial arena.
okay. Do dragons have hordes of riches? Is there a reason to go hunting dragons? Can you get rich hunting dragons?
In some cases, a dragon's wisdom, a dragon's knowledge can actually be written on their scales in a different tongue. It's this different language that is barely readable, and no one exactly knows what it is, though researchers are looking into it in Tyrannia. And other than that, their scales are, in some cases, almost impenetrable, depending on the type of dragon.
Okay. And you were saying their scales are highly sought after, kind of like the um, purple uh, that was so popular among the emperors in the old world.
It's generally seen as a royal, regal, or powerful fabric to be made into armor or royal attire. And It can show that, oh, I've slain a dragon. I am therefore powerful. And that is how people normally viewed it.
And
Though
that's why they went extinct, as people wanted their clothes or wanted their skin for clothes.
they did not go extinct, but a vast majority of them did die in the hunt.
Okay. How many different forms can dragons have? Do they just have the bipedal form and the feral form, or are there other forms?
Generally, there are only the two forms, unless uh, the dragon has a more shape-shifting ability. If the dragon can use shape-shifting magic in their bipedal form or their humanoid form, they can theoretically change to be whatever their shape-shifting implies. They can be more humanoid, they can blend in with the crowd, they can be whatever beast they desire. But other than that, there is just the standard bipedal form, the humanoid form, and then their more beastly form.
Okay. Very interesting. And you mentioned there's basilisks too. So do dragons have different flavors that they come in, or are basilisks something totally different?
A basilisk is actually generally different because of the way they use magic. Dragons normally use magic in the form of breaths, like breathing fire or breathing a blizzard of snow and ice.
Okay. What does a basilisk do?
A basilisk normally is reliant on sight to perform magic. They have to see what they are controlling to do anything with it.
Okay. And are there any other interesting animals besides basilisks and dragons? Is there an animal that uses smell in their magic?
There's Plip.
Plip?
Plip is an interesting creature that is normally depicted as this magenta cat with uh, hooves for back legs and these lilac and purple striped horns and spiraling eyes and a crooked smile that's always smiling. And he's insane. He just goes around killing things.
Okay.
And there's no real rhyme or reason to him. Some speculate that Yorseth had made him for alternative motives, or just wanted to play around, though some suspect that Yorseth wasn't actually behind it and it was some other being.
So the other gods are creators as well.
Yes.
So the All Father didn't necessarily create everything.
The Allfather did create a lot of things, and he can uncreate, destroy things if he so wills it. But he did put these beings in charge of certain elements, giving them certain personalities to be better gods and more so control them. Because, sure, Yorsef is chaotic and he can create whatever he wants, and the god of love can make incubuses and succubuses to lure people to lust so that they can or can't have it in the afterlife. Or the entity creates all these heavens and hells that are personalized towards heroes and villains.
Well, very interesting. So, are there any final thoughts, things that we didn't cover that you might want to just mention real quick?
There's a lot of there's a lot of inspiration to Tyrannia that's just so that if I publish it and if people want to make their own characters, they have all of this set out so that they can create a just entirely alternate character, but have certain attributes that go towards this race or this power that connects them to Tyrannia.
Hmm. And so, future directions. Do you want to eventually turn this stuff into a book or into a handbook for people who are role playing, or into a video game, or what are your plans for Tyrannia?
It's either going to be represented in YouTube skits and animations or music videos, even. And I might work my way up to creating a video game for people to explore in the future. But there might be a fandom for it eventually that will lead their own path and create their own stories like you do, because you always dabble with, if that can happen, then I can do this.
Hmm.
And if that is possible, then I can make this. And there's so many different directions that you can go that I just want people to have a world with lore that they can make whatever they want in. Be creative. Have a sandbox, even.
Cool. So, seems like you've worked out quite a bit of the mythos. Are there other stuff, other parts of Tyrannia that you've got mostly fleshed out?
I have generally some cults fleshed out where people worship not necessarily these gods, but more so idols, mortal idols that had passed on and they just want to remember their name, or beings that were mortal and have now became powerful. And those are just a few of the villains of Tyrannia that I'm fleshing out, including a supposed rising false god.
Okay. Um, is there any particular areas of the Tyrnian backstory that need lots more work, that haven't really
Well, I
been
don't have a
developed yet?
name for the kingdom that performed the Great Hunt, and I don't generally have a lot of the kingdoms fleshed out and a world map created with all the lore for each and every place. And that's definitely what I need to work on next, because I have certain cities like Driborin or the Trinidelian Empire or the Exethian Empire, and they're already fleshed out. They already have motives, have directions, and they already uh, are going to war. But other than that, I don't have any names for small villages. I don't have any names for landmarks, a volcano, um, or fleshed out areas in which temples can be found, or ruins underground of places of worship, to the corruption, ruins of the old Tyrannia,
Hmm.
a world under a world.
Well, okay. Well, um, is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, that's really it I can think of for now.
Well, great. So we'll call it. We'll wrap this up. Any of those of you who are interested in some of the concepts that Lydia and I have talked about today, feel free to comment in the comment section, and we of course are interested in all of your feedback. And don't forget to click the subscribe and ring the notification bell and like and do all of those things. Until next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye.